You're listening to the Cars of Carlisle Network, podcast episode number 71. Jeff Bliemeister, the AACA Museum in Hershey.
Cars of Carlisle is your favorite internationally downloaded podcast about all things automotive. Darren and his CFC team are ever searching for interesting automotive happenings, real stories about real car people, and fun features to inform and entertain you. Each week, the Cars of Carlisle crew brings you show topics ranging from car shows to team adventures to auto racing weekends to behind-the-scenes human interest stories from car nuts that live across town, across the country, or even across the globe. Come join the road trip.
Today, meet Jeffrey Bliemeister, the Executive Director of the AACA Museum, a gallery in Hershey, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the preservation and presentation of vintage automobiles and their vast history. Maybe you've known that AACA Museum has been named Reader's Choice for Best Museum and Best Tourist Attraction for their innovative displays. But did you know that next month the AACA Museum will be honoring Bill Miller II and the late Chip Miller, founders of Carlisle Events, at Night at the Museum? Join us as the museum comes alive October 9th for their signature fundraiser event. Learn more about that festive evening, as well as how the AACA Museum, a proud Smithsonian affiliate, maintains an impressive collection of million-dollar Tucker automobiles, a vast array of vehicles from the 1890s through the 1980s, as well as their phenomenal main exhibit paying homage to Studebaker. Allow Jeff to walk you through all you need to know. Be ready to journey back into automobile history by way of this world-class car museum. So, let's get revved up.
Hello, Cubers, and welcome back to your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your trusted host, Darren. This week, episode 71, we are down in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where we met the executive director, Jeff Bliemeister. You heard in the opener that he is with the AACA Museum. Great guy. The whole team has been working so hard on all the exhibits. Right now, you're going to hear more about the Studebaker exhibit. They have one of the largest collections of Tucker vehicles, which, let me just interject right there. That's a perfect segue to this week's trivia question. And that simply is this. How many of the Tucker 48 by the Tucker Corporation, which was created by Mr. Preston Tucker, based in Chicago. So in the year 1948, how many Tucker 48s came off of their production line? That answer at the end of the show. But before we jump into the interview with Mr. Bliemeister, I want to just tell you a little bit about what's happening down in Hershey. We at Cars of Carlisle want to put a special shout out to our friends at the AACA Museum. In fact, October 9th, you should mark your calendars, and tickets are limited, so check that out. They are hosting a Night at the Museum, which is going to be honoring the recipients of this year's, the 2019 Automotive Heritage Award. And they're going to be honoring our other friends at Carlisle Events, Bill Miller Jr. and the late Chip Miller, which I believe Lance Miller will be accepting. So I will be there that evening, and I think it'd be great if anyone has any interest in all. Definitely check it out. Support the AACA Museum. It's going to be a night full of a lot of activity. They're going to have actors portraying Marty McFly and Forrest Gump, Preston Tucker, Officer Frank Poncherello from the show Chips. So it's going to be a lot of fun, bringing the whole museum to life. And on top of that, really celebrating what happened back in 1974 by Bill Miller II Jr. as well as Chip Miller. So I think that'll be really cool. And the AACA Museum is also doing something on November 1st, and that is going to be Ales and Autos. Check that out at autosandales.com. This will be the 10th anniversary of this. They're going to have live music with Smooth Like Clyde, Mixed Up Productions. It's going to be hot wing tasting competition, of course, craft beers from all over the area and region, and beautiful cars. So sounds like a win-win all around. So check out those events coming up. Again, they want to look at nightatthemuseum.org and autosandales.com. Hello, viewers, and we are at the AACA Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania, sitting with Executive Director Jeff Bliemeister. Jeff, it is 6:20 on a Thursday afternoon evening, and you're missing dinner, and we really appreciate you giving some of your time for us.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here with you, and I'm glad you decided to come see us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. This I guess let's just start with the fact the museum has been incorporated, correct?
We incorporated in the 90s,
Oh, 90s,
as a nonprofit 501c3 educational institution. We started construction, I believe, 2001, 2002, opened in June of 2003.
Okay.
Just celebrated our 15th anniversary last year.
Oh, congratulations. And I know that sometimes people they don't quite make the difference between the two AACA entities, if you will. So.
Right, we're the AACA Museum. There's an AACA club.
Right.
We have similar backgrounds, and we do this. We have the same basic mission to promote automotive history, but we're two separate organizations, and we're the educational public component rather than being a club.
Right, makes sense. Well, I have to say to the listeners and the fans, I pulled up this evening to park, and right behind a beautiful '68 Mustang Seafoam Green, and talked to Jeff. This is one of multiple '68s he's owned since he was in teenage years. And it reminded me so much of mine, so it was really great.
I'm glad to hear your story too.
That's
it's a keeper for me.
Yeah, they're great cars. So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on since 2003. You've even in your tenure really started to blow out events, and we'll talk about auto and ales, the fact that the largest collection of Tuckers. I'd like to talk about the fact that you have Night at the Museum coming up. There's a lot of excitement happening here in Hershey. So let's start with...
I was fortunate enough to be one of the museum's first employees. I was actually hired back in 2003 as the first curator. Actually, end of 2002, started in 2003 as the first curator, and I got to help put some of these exhibits together, which was nice. I lasted here about 9 years. I went to work for the state for a while, and they brought me back as executive director 3 years ago.
Okay.
One of the things we did early and initially is after we got started is we became a Smithsonian affiliate. So that's something that's really nice. It gives us instant credibility, and we've earned it. We're a good world-class museum, and we partner with the Smithsonian. We share information in different technological things, educational programs, all kinds of things we partner with them on. And we're one of a couple hundred affiliates across the country, one of only a handful of automotive museums. So that's something we're really proud of.
It's an honor.
Yeah, we're proud of that.
That's great.
And the fact that you put so much effort into the exhibits themselves, let's talk a little bit about the current exhibit. Because I know when you and I have been talking over the last couple of months to get this interview set up, you were putting a lot of long nights into that.
Yeah. Not just me, but mostly our curator and a lot of our volunteers. Our curator, who will make a great interview subject down the road. Our board, our staff, our team put together a Studebaker exhibit. It's called Studebaker Cool. And we actually have 55 Studebakers inside this building, including a prototype that we borrowed from the Studebaker National Museum in South Bend, which is the Scepter. It's a beautiful car.
I saw the president coming up the stairs. There's
a lot of neat ones in the entryway, in the lobby, up on the turntables and so forth. But we change exhibits here about twice a year, and it keeps our content fresh for the public. And we tend to borrow most of the cars that we swap out like that. And we do themed exhibits, like I said. The next one coming after this is going to be called The Age of Aquarius, Cars of the Counterculture and Beyond. And it's going to focus on cars from 1967 to the mid-'70s, right before disco took over.
Oh, okay. That'd be great.
And we're looking at things with paisley roofs, interesting interiors, and all the Mopar colors, all the flamboyant colors.
Very floral.
Yes, from the 60s and early 70s. We're going to have representatives of all that stuff. Trying really hard to get a couple of really neat vehicles like Janis Joplin's Porsche.
Oh, wow.
And the Woodstock light bus, they call it. It was made, the VW bus that was iconic at Woodstock has been recreated. And I'm working with the owner of that vehicle in hopes that he'll let us borrow it for this special exhibit.
And that's recreated, not restored, right?
They could not, from my understanding from the story, they could not find the original. So he commissioned the artist and the owner redid it exactly as it was back in the 60s. And I know he's looking for a museum, and if he's out there and hears this, I hope he'll. I know I'm in touch with his assistants, so they're considering it. And I hope that they'll.
That's great.
Decide to do that.
Oh, that's really great.
Cool. Yeah, share it with us and the public. That's what we're all about: sharing automotive history with people.
Oh yeah,
it's our goal.
Well, and I know that coming up here November 1st is Autos and Ales. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We the museum. Most people think a museum makes it through their ticket counter, their gate, and so forth, but we're so complex, we can't do that.
Right.
We'd have to charge 3 times what we do to make balance our budget that way. So we rely on a really diverse funding stream, from membership to grants to corporate support and to special events. We rent the building for all kinds of different events and weddings, birthday parties, corporate events. Yeah.
We found out the Weight Watchers.
Weight Watchers has a contract with us. They're here 3 days a week for a couple hours.
Yeah.
It's reoccurring income. It brings new people into the museum. Everybody wins. It's great.
Right.
And one thing we started about 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago now exactly, was something called Autos and Ales. Craft beer has been an emerging thing for a while now. And we started a craft beer festival. We brought breweries in, provided live music, had a chicken wing contest and food for our patrons. And we typically sell out about 900 tickets for this event. This year is our 10th anniversary. We've gone all out for it. We have over 30 craft breweries signed up to participate. We have, you'll like this, we have a special event beer. We have a VIP hour for an extra $5 or $10. You can come in. We're selling a limited number of tickets. You have a freer run of the building. And we have an event beer. A place called Mad Chef Brewing in Lancaster County is doing a special event beer for us. And we've done this the last 2 years. This year's beer is called Big Bad Orange. and the reason for that is it's patterned after the, American Motors Big Bad Orange AMC.
Yes, of course.
You know, the two-seater, the car.
Yeah.
So AMX. And it's going to match the color of the car. And it's going to have 102 bittering units in the IPA, the double IPA, because the car ran new on 102 octane high gas.
That's pretty clever.
So yeah, we're doing a marketing campaign to
And
tie
it'll
that
have
together.
hints of citrus, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah, how could it not?
Right.
So that's become one of our biggest fundraising events. We're really proud of it. It's a well-run, well-disciplined event that everybody has a good time, and
Sounds like a good
yeah,
time.
and it brings in another audience that we don't typically get. We get reoccurring visitors from that. And
And is the museum open?
the museum,
then,
it's
too?
all internal. It's inside the
Okay.
museum, and we have a great track record of no damage to cars and no disciplinary problems. You know, people say, "You want to have a craft beer festival?" Yeah, people are generally very respectful.
Yeah, you'd
We had a
think
great
10
experience.
breweries and automotive car, yeah, something bad would happen, but yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but we've had great results. It's our 10th anniversary. We're real proud of it, and we're hoping to sell 900 tickets and sell it out again this year.
That's
That's
terrific.
good.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So, Jeff, talk a little bit about coming up here October 9th. We have the fact that Night at the Museum, and you mentioned to us before we went to start recording, sitting here in your office, that it really comes to life. You have actors and impersonators that really bring the settings, the theme, the time frame, and the time period, the era to life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a really interesting period of time here for cars in this area because we have Carlisle, Fall Carlisle, of course, and when that ends in the weekend, the following Wednesday is the start of the Hershey Fall Meet. So we kicked that event off on Wednesday night with something we call Night at the Museum. And Night at the Museum has taken different formats for all these different years we've had it, but this year we're trying something really different. We're making it less formal, and we're bringing the museum to life, like you mentioned, by interpreting some of our vehicles, our iconic vehicles, with actors and interpreters. As an example, we have Whitney Houston's limousine here, and we're going to have someone pretending they're Whitney Houston, bringing that car to life.
Wow.
We have the actual bus that was used in the movie Forrest Gump. If you remember the scene in downtown Washington during the protest, when
Yes.
they're on board the bus,
Yes.
Forrest punches the guy who's
Yes.
Jenny's girlfriend or whatever,
Yep,
and
yep.
that we have that bus. They borrowed that bus from the bus museum here for that movie years and years ago.
Wow.
So that and a DeLorean is going to be brought to life for Back to the Future, and we have a California Highway Patrol motorcycle. It's going to be done chip
Chips.
style from the 70s, correct? So
This is like an Eric Estrada.
exactly.
And so
right.
the impersonators will actually be talking about the vehicles.
They will
Is
be.
that-
They'll have context to
They're the ones
provide
with
on
the
the
knowledge and the information. to
right.
talk
They'll
about.
be briefed and they'll study the subject matter.
That's great.
Everyone that listens to Cars of Carlisle, for us, we've always talked about it being car community, car culture, but the people coming together, and it brings people from all walks of life. And I'm sure you see that through your museum door, people coming in from whether they are worth millions or they just are getting into the hobby. That I think is something fascinating, and your events really lean on that. It opens it up to a broader audience that people don't realize how much vehicles, both cars, trucks, motorcycles, ingrained, if you will, into our culture with everything, TV, radio, you name it.
Absolutely, it's part of society, and we really enjoy I like the fact when I'm talking to people, people like to watch Barrett Jackson and Meekum and all these things, and go to Carlisle the auction, whatever, and see these results and these big sale things, but it can be misleading to people. They, number one, think their cars are worth more than they are if they own a car, or if they're a person wanting to get into the hobby, they think, I can never afford this.
Right.
So I love telling people, you can have as much fun with a $2,000 car as you can with a $100,000 car. It's all in your point of view, and there's other ways to get involved in the hobby. And we love when people come through, they get educated, they go through the exhibit, most of our exhibit is decade by decade. You start in 1900 in New York City, you end up in California, the Golden Gate Bridge in the 70s. And somewhere along that line, people generally run into a car, or the kind of car they once owned. And that's when nostalgia starts in. They start talking about, oh, I had this, or my uncle had this, or I rode in one of these, my first trip was here, and this, and it just brings it to life, and it becomes personal, as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have that riding on your grandfather's lap down a dirt lane, or whatever the story is. Everyone seems to have like you said, that one vehicle that resonates very much with them.
Right.
So.
As you know, for me, it's Mustangs. So
Well, yeah.
lots of Mustang
You've had a
stories.
lot of 68s, and now it sounds like you have a daughter that might be.
My daughter wants my 68, yes, so I can't part with it.
That's
Next
all right.
generation. It's all good.
That's right. That's what it's
Exactly
about.
right.
But yeah, with your events here, it seems like you're appealing to people who aren't even car buffs. You know, that anybody can come along, and as far as like the ales, the beers, the different
Yeah,
things with
yeah,
that.
that's the
and
goal.
then the references with movies and the movie sets and that kind of stuff. It's all good. Yeah.
Sure. And if I could, I'll follow up on our night at the museum. You know, we give out an award every year called Automotive Heritage Award. And this year we're honoring the Millers, who founded Carlisle Events. You know, Bill Miller and then Chip Miller. His son Lance will be here to accept that award. So we try and give back to the community. I know they have a foundation there. We're going to support that as well as part of this.
Yeah, amyloidosis.
Exactly. So, you know, we try and give back to the community as well. In fact, our Autos and Ales has a component where we give back to juvenile diabetes research.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do people get information on this if they want to come to either of the events? And how long do they have to do that? Like, what is the deadline for getting in?
You can buy tickets for the night at the museum and Autos and Ales right until we don't have any left.
Okay.
So
Hopefully that's sooner than later. Yeah.
Exactly. You can give us a call and talk to one of our frontline people who will help you out by calling 717-566-7100 or visit us on the web at AACAmuseum.org.
Okay.
We'll be happy to help you out.
Great. Wonderful. Because they sound like pretty interesting events. So, yeah.
Thanks. I hope you guys will
Didn't
join us
even
too
know
for
they were
something here.
We absolutely
Yeah.
will.
I
Yeah.
want to be part of that. One of the things that I know when we were talking earlier about largest with Tuckers, maybe we can expound on that, the fact that 53 were ever created, right?
51 or 2.
50,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a very low number.
And you have 3 here.
We have 3 here, yeah, and we also have a test chassis. And for those of you who are movie buffs, the Tucker, the Man in His Dream, we have a
Yes.
fiberglass car that was built for that movie, which is now 25, 30 years old, whatever it may be, that was done all those years ago and brought the subject back to life. Yeah, so we have a very comprehensive Tucker collection. We also have blueprints from the factory, NOS parts,
Wow.
you name it. If it's Tucker, we have it. It's the largest collection in the world. It's right here in Hershey, and we love sharing it with people.
He was an automotive genius with just the center headlight with
Oh, yeah,
as it would
yeah.
rotate with the steering wheel.
Correct.
Left and right. I mean, just some of his technology was so far ahead of where things were at the time.
One of the things I like to share with people, he wanted to build a perfect car. He wanted it extremely safe. He wanted it powerful. He wanted it efficient. He found out that he couldn't have all those things. He couldn't afford to build a car at that price. No one would buy it if he built that car. And he was always refining and doing different things. The funny thing I've learned was that he insisted that his car have seatbelts. And his marketing people told him, you can't do that. If you put seatbelts in your car, the public will automatically think it's unsafe. Because no car that era generally didn't have seatbelts.
Right.
So it's a different era completely.
What else about the Tucker automobile and perhaps the exhibit would you want our listeners to know more about that might bring them here to visit Hershey?
Well, it's neat because you're very rarely, I don't think you'll ever see a Tucker on the road unless you're near a concourse event where they're driving you because they're just simply too valuable and they're too scarce. We're actually raffling off a ride in a Tucker at night at the museum as one of our silent auction items. And the only automatic transmission Tucker in existence, which we have. We had it prepared last year for Pebble Beach and shipped it out there for that event. I would like people to know, it's after World War II, there was a kind of a rebound, if you want to call it that, in automotive manufacturing. There were a few startup companies because most of them were put out of business by the consolidation of the Model T and its success and then the Depression. But after World War II, a few companies like Kaiser Frazer came out. They built a Playboy car. And Tucker tried his chance at building his dream car. And he came pretty darn close. I mean, it's a production car. They're all prototypes, but he made 50 of these things, and he was darn close to going big with this thing.
Yeah.
And you can tell that whole story. It's an American success story, and you can see the whole thing here. We even have a prototype. We had a interactive build. The front end of the Tucker, you were talking about the headlight that turns. Visitors can stand behind that and turn the wheel and focus the headlight on a cityscape, and they can do a selfie picture in this fiberglass
Cool.
reproduction of a front of a car.
That interactive aspect.
Interactive,
is
yeah.
Great. So I almost equate, in my mind, he was almost like the Tesla of the late 40s. I mean,
Yeah, in a way, you're right.
it just
Sure.
saw the big three and just decided I want to do something different.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
went off on his own.
And I'm sure there are a lot of people who were threatened by that. A lot of companies were threatened by that. But
Right.
he made a quality product.
Yeah.
Just didn't quite finish it the way he wanted. But he made some nice cars, and they've endured.
Well, the Studebaker Cool exhibit. Anything we wanted to? I mean, we talked a little bit about, of course, the various models and what have you. But Do we want to probe deeper on that? Share anything more with the public?
Well, Studebaker was, as I told you earlier, we change exhibits all the time. So if there's something you want to see, let us know. And if it's feasible and doable and it has public appeal, we'll probably pursue it. We've done a lot of neat things. Studebaker started Civil War era, pre-Civil War, making wagons. And they got military contracts that helped them grow. We have some wood-built vehicles here. They were actually involved in electric cars at one point, and we have a nice vehicle on loan from the Swigert Museum in Huntington. It was used in the Capitol to take politicians back and forth in the tunnels between the buildings.
Wow. And
it's electric powered, and you can sit in either seat and go either direction in it. It was designed to go back and forth on a track almost like a rail car, but in a confined tunnel.
Yeah.
That's turn of the century, really early. Wow. We have supercharged Avantis, which were land speed record cars, and they came out in '63.
Yes. They were pretty spectacular.
Yeah, they were very spectacular. We have something that people don't equate with Studebaker, but it's a Lark Wagonaire station wagon with a roll-up top. And the advertising materials for that showed a refrigerator standing up in the back of the station wagon. So I mean, I'm sure that leaked too, but it was a neat concept that Studebaker was ahead of his time in a lot of ways, but as an independent, didn't always have the resources to compete with the big three.
But some of their, like the Hawk and some beautiful cars.
They used Raymond Loewy, the famed designer, industrial designer, used an existing chassis to make 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many different models. He had a lot of mileage out of one chassis by constantly redesigning on a limited budget the body. Yeah, they were very smart with the resources.
Modular, it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you have one on loan from the Smithsonian, right?
Well, we have from the Studebaker National Museum.
In
South Bend. Yeah, the Scepter, which is a cool prototype.
Yeah. Well, maybe you have to check that out before we leave tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, get a picture of that.
And then we talk about the age of Aquarius, and from 1967 to the mid 70s. That's going to be disco fun with all.
Yeah, that'll be coming out when end of November and run through May.
Okay.
And then after that, something I think people are going to be interested in. We're working on an exhibit called Hemis.
And Bill Steingrey gave me a little.
Bill give you a rundown on that. He's the guest curator. Yeah.
I like where he's going with that, and the fact that hemispherical heads are not just in Chrysler.
That's what I think people are going to be surprised. Yeah, the Boss 429 Mustang is a Hemi-headed engine.
Yep.
And some of there's foreign cars and early cars near the turn of the century that have hemispherical combustion chambers. So hopefully it'll be an eye-opening exhibit. That'll also be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's
and put some really cool cars in. Yeah.
But popping back to the Age of Aquarius, the one that's here right now.
Well, that one that will be here.
The one that will be here then, November to May.
Correct.
And what will that one be?
That'll be probably
the flower power.
Yeah, flower power cars, maybe 30 vehicles. But some of those cars had really neat things. Some of the Cadillacs and different cars had Pierre Cardin interiors.
Wow.
Oh,
AMC had a Levi Strauss denim interior.
I do. I actually remember someone in my neighborhood. Their parent had that. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
So I anticipate a Beetle with stuff from peace signs and all kinds of stuff next to a 440 powered Superbird or something.
Yeah.
It's showing the dichotomy of what people are interested in.
Yeah.
That's why we're calling it Cars of the Counterculture and Beyond, because there were a lot of different ways to make a statement in that era. Yeah, and it's limitless.
That's great.
That's excellent. Well, Jeff, we want to give you final word, but anything else that, particularly in the sense that those that are listening outside of Central Pennsylvania, we have friends and fans all over the U.S. In fact, also about 7-8 different countries are listening too. But what would you like them to know about the important work that your team's doing here?
I think it's a fun place to come visit. You'll be entertained and you'll be educated at the same time. We've been very fortunate. We've been listed in the top 10 in a lot of automotive trade magazines. We just came in number 5 in the USA Today online poll of top places for auto lovers. Okay. And we were number 5 in the nation on that.
That's amazing.
So, and we're honored and blessed to have these people who appreciate us and like us, and we rely on support from everywhere and from everyone. We're a public institution. We're an educational institution. And come visit us. I think you'll have a good time, and we're responsive to your suggestions as well. We're always trying to better ourselves, better this museum, because it's a publicly owned facility.
And your location is great. Easy to get to, easy to get into. The parking's great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Right off the highway. Yeah. It's
amazingly, this was when this museum opened 15 years ago. This land, people wondered why this was purchased way out here, because everything was in Hershey, the action, but now it's coming out this way.
It is.
There's no other place to go. So we're really in the heart of things.
It's easier to get to here.
Yeah, we're really in the heart of things.
And when we park tonight, there's a roadway semi-truck. There's the bus. I mean,
that's a 67 Welter snowplow out there.
Okay. Yeah.
It's painted up.
Yeah. That's all donations. All donated. Every vehicle here is donated.
I mean, that's right out front.
Yeah, well, that's on loan. We don't own that. Hershey owns that, but they loan it to us, fortunately.
Yeah. So even if you drive by and don't have a chance to stop in,
there's still you can see stuff
vehicles.
after hours, right?
Yeah.
And we have a hotel right next door, so you can just come stay and make an event out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Everyone should come at least once.
Yeah,
For
when you're
sure.
here for Hershey Park, come over to here.
Oh yeah, we
Always
love that combination. Make a 2-day trip out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Jeff, thank you so very much for making the time, and we'll consider this into our cubers, our fans. This isn't our last trip. We plan to come to some of these events and come back, talk to Stan, and maybe build part 2, part 3 to some of these interviews and get out on the floor and talk.
That would be awesome. We'll give you a grand tour, and I think you'll get ideas based on that. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Jeff. Welcome back to Studio A. I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Jeff. He is a very gracious host, and Jeff's a great guy and really puts all he has into that organization. It shows such a professional. You can tell that it is obviously one of the best tourist attractions in this area, a Reader's Choice Best Museum, the affiliation with Smithsonian. They are doing a lot of things right down there. We want to thank them. But hope you do get a chance to join them October 9th at Night at the Museum. I'll be there, as well as November 1st for Autos and Ales. A couple of great events coming up. So for now, I'll simply say, drive well, be well, and take care.